Today's High Performance Podcast is brought to you by Josh Phegan Digital. It's the only place to track and keep yourself accountable by looking at all of the essential numbers, from buyer appointments, market appraisals and listing appointments, to listings, sales and income, and working in 45-minute sessions. You'll find it all on Josh Phegan Digital. Welcome to High Performance, featuring Josh Phegan and Alexander Phillips. Alexander, today we're going to talk a lot about price reductions and a price reduction menu. This came from one of the stories of Paul Curtin out of Place Estate Agents up in Brisbane, where he went to a steak restaurant once and there was like a potato menu of all the different ways you could do a potato. And the interesting thing is that literally he then thought about, well, what do we actually do once we get a price reduction? Alex, one of the biggest challenges that we've got with real estate agents is they get a price reduction, but then they don't go and do anything with it. Now, the interesting thing is they're turning up next Saturday hoping buyers are just going to somehow witness that there's been a price reduction. There are some things that we can do. I'm going to give you the menu, then I want you to see what you think about what you do. First of all, we get a price change. We need to make sure that all the marketing's updated. Second conversation, let's go to a new buyer pool. So are there any other buyers that might have walked through other properties that should now come and see the properties that's more fairly priced? We need to go to the existing buyers that have already been through the property, see whether or not it might change them to get them back down for another inspection on the property. We've got all of the things that are associated with marketing. We've got bumps, we've got email blasts, we've got more social media content that we can actually put out there in the marketplace. And then we need to get a buyer through in the following 24 hours so that our seller links that price reductions actually equals buyer activity. Alex, what are your thoughts on the menu? Any things to include there? Some other things that you might do differently?
Josh, once we get a price reduction, anyone that has touched that property gets it notified within literally 30 seconds. So, they've inquired, they've been through the door, they've texted us, they're on our database. We get a price reduction, it gets notified, it's online, it gets pushed out to everybody. So, it's about, obviously being really responsive, because generally from that you're going to start getting new inquiries, and you can energize yourself as an agent if you've been sitting on on a property for 3 or 4 months or however long it may be. But the great thing is when you do price reductions and you start to see more inquiries, it's a really good conversation to have with a vendor. All they want to see is that you've done extra hard work to make that price reduction worthwhile, that if you're going to be selling it for less than what they want, they're going to be happy that you've done everything possible. So what we do is we action it all straight away. We start calling other, call lists. We start calling, we text everyone that's been through. We call everyone that's been through, blast out, to the database, and then we update the vendor saying, guys, this is what's happened. Just so you know, we've actually also put an extra open house in for Tuesday just to get as many people through. So what we do is add in more open houses, and that's just another touch point for the vendor to see, what actually we're doing. So I think it's about the proactiveness is what's then going to find and unearth a new buyer or someone that's already been through that. You can then you start having very different conversations with the vendor.
Yeah, one of the interesting things, a key agent of ours down in Victoria last week was saying that they've updated their vendor reports, and on that they've got the total number of price reductions in your postcode in the last 7 days. So Alex just...
That's depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but I guess the thing about it is at least you know that 7 other people are getting price changes. It's not a surprise why it's happening to you, and they can literally understand that, okay, great, this is a bit of a market that's moving and we need to find that new level before the market starts to drive up. What's important here, though, is that as an agent, don't just turn up there the next Saturday and hoping that the marketing's going to work. You've got to make sure that you go and do that. How do you communicate to people? Because we do see people talk about listings that are distressed. When there is a price change, do you call it a price reduction, a price change, a price amendment? What does that sound like?
Depends on who the vendor is and what we recommend. So new price guide, price reduction is generally what we say, yeah.
And I think the interesting conversation, is there a psychological percentage that you think that a price reduction needs to be? So let's say, for example, that you had a property on at $1 million and the owner's like, oh yeah, we'll change it to $999. Is that enough in your mind, or is it about literally, is there a bit of a rule here on percentages, or just where the buyer feedback has been to be able to get that price change?
It's got to be minimum 5 to 10%.
Yeah, and the basic idea is that if it was over $5,000, the buyer would have made an offer, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And so that's important about a psychological pricing, that people are getting it into the right range to go to make that happen.
Correct.
The better that you do that, the better off the price reductions are going to get the effect of actually getting the property sold.